the child's exposure of a hidden food supply is used as the motive. The story of the yam's hidden name is universally known and enjoyed in Jamaica. It belongs to the group of hidden name stories discussed under number 69. See Milne 56-57, De Aphasia, and compare Musgrave, 53-54. 2. 3. The child first sticks a fire stick into the pepper bush behind which his enemy lies in wait, then throws bags of ants into his face as he waits under a coconut tree. In the African and Mexican parallels, the trickster throws down fruit prickly pears in Mexico. In every case, two fruits are thrown harmlessly, then the fatal fruit. Compare Parsons, Andros Island, 40. In Georgia, Bacchus, JAFL 13, 22-23, pepper is the missile. In Nassau, 25-30, bags of ants and pepper are thrown to detect the pretended dead. This may be related to the bee trick in the Mexican cycle. In the Jamaica episode of The Refugees in the Roof, numbers 5c and 27, after the wife and children have dropped and been devoured, Anansi puffs dust into the pursuer's eyes and escapes. Dust is thrown in Parsons, Sea Islands, 54, and in other instances in the same collection. 4. For the episode of detecting a hidden enemy by calling upon the place where he is hidden to speak, compare Steer, 377, Rattray, 134, Rennell 2, 92, 93, Fortier, 110, Harris, Friends, 143-146, and Boa's Mexican Cycle, JAFL 25, 208 and reference, note page 248. 5. For the trick of changing places in the coffin and the pretended pastures under sea, compare 107, 108. Contents 24. The Duckano Tree. Story Takooma in this tale plays the part of Cunny more than father of the preceding as a spy to discover a hidden food supply. It is a very popular Jamaica story, told by Milne 120-124, Wanna, 62-66, Pamela Smith, 78. 248 Compare Edwards, 79, Daryl, 26-28. The story has three parts. 1. The son by means of a trail of ashes discovers a hidden food supply. 2. He takes all but one fruit and charms that so that his father cannot pick it. 3. Dog picks it up and swallows it, is pursued, discovered by his eyes in the ground, and the stolen fruit is squeezed out of him, thus causing the sink places in his two sides. 1. For the trail of ashes compare Barker, 51-54, Arkin, 478, Daryl, 27, Nassau, 204, 141, 155, Harris, Friends, 15-20. 2. In Daryl's story of the king's magic drum, the king gives Tortoise a tree which bears fufu once a year and drops fufu and soup once a day, but will lose the power if visited twice. The son follows and breaks the spell. The Kaffir Iron John story of the bird that made milk, Callaway, 99-104, Thiel, 29-39, is the story of a food-producing animal trapped by the father and let loose by the son. In Barker, Anansi, to punish men, gets the wisdom of the world sealed up in a jar and attempts to hide it away from everyone but himself in the top of a tall tree. His son, Quikutsin, follows him to the tree where he is hiding it, and, in his anger, Anansi lets the jar fall and break. 3. In Thiel, 158-168, a man whose greed in hiding a food supply from his family has been discovered and punished, calls upon his dogs to aid him. Later his son escapes from the cannibals by slipping into a hole. Contents 25. Food and cudgel. Story. The first form of this story is very common in Jamaica. It is told by Pamela Smith, Kandu, 28-30, Wana, Dumek IC, 9-18. The introductory trick is generally told as an independent witticism. Compare, Bassett 11, 93-95, 102, Barker, 39-44, Daryl, 20-28, Parsons, Andros Island, 141. And note for further references. See Grimm 36, The Wishing Table, The Gold Ass, and The Cudgel in the Sack, discussed in Bolt Upolivka, 2, 336-361. Contents 26. The Riddle. Story. Hendricks called this riddle test Anansi story, although another which he told me that of bringing water in a basket by daubing the basket with clay he said was not exactly Anansi story. 249. Contents 27. Anansi and Brother Dead. Story. The story of Brother Dead is one of the best known of Jamaica stories. Trowbridge, 282, says Death is looked upon as Anansi's brother. Anansi fool all, nobody can fool Anansi, only Brother Dead, old Forbes said at the end of a trick story. Every Jamaica collection includes a version. See Jekyll, 31-34, Milnholm, 40-41, Trowbridge, JAFL 9, 286-287, Pamela Smith, 69-70, Wana, 73-77. For other references, compare Parsons, Andros Island, 117-119 and Note 2, page 117. The story turns upon Anansi's stealing from Death's provision field, as in 17b. All the versions except Wana's version end with the episode of refugees in the roof, as in number 5c, an episode related to the fruit dropping or dust blinding incident as a means of getting rid of a strong enemy who is lying in wait for a weaker, as in numbers 13c, 23. In Wana's version, which has retained a European underworld coloring, Anansi passes fields of fat cattle and comes finally to the city of Death. He greases the hinges of the gate with the fat of the sheep he has killed out of Death's flocks, and when he flees, the gate opens for him. Nevertheless, the shadow of Death jumps upon his back. He asks various friends to take it off, and finally succeeds in throwing it to earth. Later he picks and eats callaloo, Jamaica greens, from the spot where it fell. This latter part of the story is the dry head episode of numbers 22 and 30. In the ordinary Jamaica version, the comedy of getting the food, bringing the wife, attempting Death's destruction, take the place of the underworld detail. Another maroon version begins, Anansi get a daughter he call Matt, and he go to a place where he was hunting and see a man sitting down all day sharpening pegs. Anansi go and say morning, brar dead. Not a peek, only keep on work all a time. He go up on his loft have lots of dry meat, and he take as much and carry it down and bile his food. Anansi don walk where rope is set against the water, walk a different pass. After Anansi has left his daughter with Dead, the story runs, him daughter want water, say, brar Dead, want water. Not a answer. Him follow to pass and go down to whe to water Dead, and him drop in brar Dead's rope and he catch him. And Dead run down and take him off the stick and lick him brar Dead, I'm yo wife, brar Dead. Don kill me. Don kill me. Don hear a word, not a word. Kill him and cut him up and carry him put him up in loft, mek fire under him, dry him. In Trowbridge, Death is a loquacious planter and the story runs like any thieving plot. In the maroon version the figure of 250 brother dead corresponds with that of the piercer of souls or the fisherman in American Indian stories of the trickster's visit to the underworld, e.g. Relation de la Nouvelle France, 1636, p. 106, Petito, Traditions Indiennes de Dean Digné, p. 33. The American Indian fisherman is spearing or angling for fish. The Jamaica figure of death is trapping game. Both tricksters make their way in by avoiding Death's trap. The incident of tying Death's hair in order to burn him up corresponds to the hair plaiting in Callaway, 29, and Thiel, 110, where the trickster sets fire to the hut and burns up his host. Version B shows a simpler handling of similar incidents. Contents 28. Brother Dead and the Brindle Puppy. Story. The second story of Brother Dead is mixed up with Obeah beliefs and it is hard to tell where the pattern ends and improvisation begins. Brother Dead, like the sorcerer, evidently sends a shadow in the shape of a brindled pup to pursue and catch Anansi. The song, meanwhile, plays a part in the conjuring. Words and tune are African. The old maroon who gave me the trap-setting picture of Brar Dead quoted in the note to the last number, concluded as follows: when he, dead, catch to a crosspath, take him lance and see one little mager dog into a hole and dig him out and say to de puppy, ai. Brar, fo kitty shall man bra. If he had caught Anansi, he would kill Anansi. I was unable to get an explanation of the sorcerer's phrase. Compare, for the guardian dog, the story of Sarah Winton by Lewis, 291, and see number 72. Jamaica sorcerers send a helping spirit in animal form to work their revenge. Contents 29. The Couch and Mr. Fullman. Story. The very popular Jamaica story of the Couch tree is here combined with another equally popular story. 1. Anansi wins a bet to fell a tree in a Couch property without scratching himself. 2. He loses the reward by being out-tricked by another fellow whom he has himself hoped to dupe and who pretends that the cow has sunk into the ground all but its tail. The story occurs in Pamela Smith, 75-77, Milnholm, 89-90, and a confused version in Jekyll, 29-30. Compare also number 52. 1. The Couch idea seems to be late Jamaican. In P. Smith, Anansi picks cocoa nuts in spite of ants and wasps and gets a cow as reward. In Milnholm, he cuts down the tree without 251 brushing off ants, and gets the king's daughter. In number 52, Toad succeeds in cutting down the tree, the chips of which return magically to their place, and wins the king's daughter. Generally outside Jamaica, the reward is the king's daughter and the difficulty arises from stinging insects or from a useless weapon. Compare Barker, 159-161, Tremarn FL 21, 353-354, Lentz, 31-32, Harris, Knights, 216-222 and note to 222, Jones, 17, Parsons, Sea Islands, 3. In Barker, the king promises an elephant to the man who can cut down a tree with a wooden axe. Anansi conceals a steel axe and calls the watcher's attention to various animals at a distance while he uses it. In Harris, Wolf forbids his daughter to all wooers who slap at mosquitoes. Rabbit wins her by describing where his grandfather was speckled. In Jones, the king will give his daughter to Wolf or Rabbit, whichever will endure the sandfly longest without slapping it. Rabbit wins by describing the colors on his father's horse. In Tremarn, the task is to remove a heap of manure without either taking food or spitting, and Spider conceals in his quiver the means to fulfill these needs unsuspected. The story ends as in number 44. In Lentz, the tree is to be chopped down with a single stroke by the one who wants to marry the daughter. The test theme of the tree chopping is familiar to European story. In Grimm, 79, the boy has to hew down a tree with a blunt axe as one of the tasks set by the Waterniks, see Bold Upolivka 2, 140-146. In Grimm 193, the drummer has to hew down the tree with an axe of lead and wedges and mallet of tin, see Bold Upolivka 3, 406-417. The idea of stinging insects or plants as a test of self-control seems to be African and may be suggested by such ceremonial initiations into manhood as are described by Hollis, the Nandi, 54. In Jamaica, the reward of self-control is not a wife but a cow. This the winner desires to eat entirely by himself. The whole cow theme, so popular in Jamaica, occurs in 19, 22, 30, and in 6, 7, 11, 21, 23, 24, 25, 34, 39, 132 of this collection. The story turns upon a trick to secure the whole of a common food supply. The Fullman episode is told by Milne Home, 109-113, of Anansi's wife and Kwanka. In P. Smith, the very popular dry head episode accounts for the loss of the cow, as in Numbers 22 and 30. 252 in Barker, Anansi intends to get the cow to himself, but he loses it by the trick of stealing the tied animal. See Parsons, Florida 28, 411-413. For the trick of tails in the ground, compare Harris, Knights, 234-236, 247-258, Uncle Remus, 101-103, Christensen, 89-90, JAFL 26, Hitchiti Indians, 215-216, General, 30, 228, Cape Verde, 230, 31, Guatemala, 474, 32, Virginia, 368, Georgia, 403. Contents 30. Dryhead and Anansi. Story: the Dryhead episode is very popular in Jamaica. From Jekyll's version, 48-49, I have corrected my version 30C as Johnson gave it and made Dryhead, not Anansi, the victim of the bag trick. Johnson was not a reliable informant. Other Jamaica versions occur in Pamela Smith, 75-76, as the conclusion to the Cowich story, and in Wana, 44-50. The story falls into three parts. 1. Anansi pretends that he is about to die unless he has the whole of a fat barrow to himself. 2. He carries it away into the woods to eat and inadvertently picks up Dryhead, who devours the whole. 3. He invents an expedient to get rid of Dryhead. Compare Suriname, JAFL 30, 244-246, Madagascar, Renal 2, 1-2, 57-59, Kaffir, Thiel, 158-162, Upper Congo, Weeks FL 12, 82-83, West African, Tremarn, Florida 22, 61-63, Barker, 66, Cronus and Ward, 287-290, Rattray, 2, 106-122. 1. Rattray's Hausa version is identical with the Jamaican. The Suriname story lacks the Dryhead ending. In the Madagascar and Congo stories, the trick turns upon pretending that a spirit warns the wife against poison if she partakes of her husband's food. In Thiel, Kenk visits his father-in-law in time of famine, is feasted on an ox and given bags of corn, which he conceals. Compare numbers 21c, 23, 24, 25, and 29. 2. A Maasai story, Hollis, 15, tells of two brothers who are given a bullock to slaughter. They carry it to a place where there was no man or animal, or bird, or insect, or anything living, and a devil puts them to much inconvenience. The pursuit of Anansi by the shadow of death, in the one version of 27, has already been referred to in the dry head episode. In Barker, 81-84, the stolen flower-producing stone which Anansi is carrying off, sticks to his head and grinds him to pieces, as referred to in the note to number 22. In Thiel, Kenk's wife and son hide themselves behind the rock which conceals his secret store, and push over a stone which pursues him as far as his own house. 253 In Barker, 66, the king gives to the greedy man a box so enchanted that it can never be put down. In Sack and Fox Indian Tales, JAFL 15, 177, the monster-killing twins bring home a rock which sticks upon their backs until they carry it to its place again. In the Ojibwe Nanabushu cycle, Jones, Pubethsoc 1, 117-127, Nanabushu is cooking a deer. The branches of the tree creak and he gets up to grease them and is caught and hung there. Meanwhile, the wolves come and eat up the deer. He finally escapes, discovers that the brains of the deer are still left in the deer skull, transforms himself into a snake and crawls into the head. Turning too quickly back into human shape, he gets caught with the skull fast to his head and has to carry it about with him until he manages to break it against a rock. 3. The regular Jamaica conclusion of the dry head episode seems to be the Aesopic one, in which a bird carries him in air and drops him, not against a rock but, in Jekyll, in the deepest part of the woods, in version, C, in a sea ball. In another version not printed here, Anansi takes in an old man because he has some food with him, but when the food gives out, the man become a dry head on him, and Anansi puts him off on Tako Oma, who leaves him by the sea so that a wave comes up and drowns him. In version A, Anansi burns him up. Version B is a witticism in the same class as dry head and the barber in this collection. In Pamela Smith's version, Anansi shoots the bird who is doing him the favor of carrying off dry head. See note to number 70 and compare P. Smith, 59-64, in which Tiger, pursued by the Niams, begs one animal after another to hide him, but always lets his presence be known. Finally, when Goat kills the Niams, he eats goat with the Niams. In Dorsey, the Pawnee, 126, and Traditions of the Arikara, 146-148, Coyote, pursued by a rolling stone, takes refuge with the bull bats and is defended by them. In the Pawnee version, he later insults his rescuers. Contents 31. The Yam Hills story. The Yam Hill story is very common in Jamaica. Parks learned it in Kingston. Pamela Smith tells it, page 59 and JAFL 9, 278. Sometimes a song accompanies the story. The number of Yam Hills varies. Compare Cronus and Ward, 167-171, Parsons, Andros Island, 109. 254. The story depends upon the idea that it is unlucky to reveal to others a marvel one has seen oneself, or to repeat certain taboo words. A lad in the Santa Cruz Mountains explained the taboo by saying that Anansi had 6 legs. Another said that Anansi's mother's name was Six. So in Pamela Smith, JAFL 9, 278, the Queen's name is 5. Compare Riviere, 177, Krug, JAFL 25, 120, Schwab, JAFL 32, 437, and the next two numbers in this collection. Contents 32. The law against backbiting. Story Parks learned this story on board ship coming from Africa. It is common in Jamaica, and the wit by which the revenge is effected seems to be an individual invention, as it varies from story to story. In Junid's B.A. Wrong version, 156 to 158, Pity, the fool, amuses himself by the roadside instead of going to herd cattle. Everyone who reproaches him falls dead. Later he restores his victims to life by means of fire. Contents 33. Fling a Mile. Story Jekyll, 152 to 155, has a good version of this very popular Jamaica story. Compare the Bulow Tales, Schwab, JAFL 27, 284 to 285, 32, 434. In JAFL 27, Turtle sets a trap and by pretending to teach other animals who come along one by one how to use it, he catches one victim after another until he is himself caught. In JAFL 32, Pangolin offers to initiate the animals one by one and makes them climb a tree and jump upon a concealed rock, which kills them. Turtle finally circumvents the trick. In a Jamaica version collected in Mandeville, Anansi holds a butchering at a place where there is a tree which seizes any person who leans against it and flings him upon a lance which Anansi has set up. Contents 34. But and Anansi. Story. The very popular story of Butterfly's Revenge is a somewhat obscured version of an old theme, the Jataka story of the Quail's friends, Francis and Thomas, 247 to 250. Compare Steel Temple, Wide Awake Stories, 184, Gerber, Great Russian Animal Tales, Pub Mod. Lang Asso. Of AM6, Number 2, 19 to 20, Grimm 58, The Dog and the Sparrow, discussed in Bold Upolivka 1, 515 to 519. Though common today, the story seems to be of comparatively late introduction. Old Edwards, over 80, heard it when he was ripe. Compare Tremarn, 231. 255. Contents 35. Tumblebug and Anansi. Story. The story of Tumblebug's revenge is even more common than the last number. In 1A, 51 to 55, Tumblebug is carrying butter and Anansi only lard. Anansi proposes that they put their loads together, sees that Tumblebug's is at the bottom, and makes the ruling in order that he may get the butter and Tumblebug the lard. Compare number 46 and the opening episode of the last number. The revenge story is recent. In 1A, Tumblebug suffers further at Anansi's hands. In Tremarn, FL 21, 213 to 214, Tortoise and Spider have a bull in common. Tortoise eats the liver and Spider claims in compensation the whole bull. Tortoise pretends dead and frightens Spider, who thinks it is a spirit and gives him everything. Contents 36. Horse and Anansi. Story. For the trick of sending after fire in order to enjoy the whole of a common store. Compare Coel, 166 to 167, Tremarn, 255, 263, Hart, 34, Harris, Friends, 79 to 80, Knights, 282 to 284, Christensen, 89, Georgia, JAFL 32, 403. For the trick of leaving the knife or the spoon behind, see number 11 in this collection. For the fire test, see 21A and note to number 9. It is clear, from the picture drawn of horse as he starts for the fire, that the storyteller thinks of the actors in the story as animals, even when he shows them behaving like human beings. Contents 37. Anansi in Monkey Country. Story Mrs. W. E. Wilson, Wanna, thinks that the second version of the story, told by Jekyll, 70-72, is not a true Negro form, because of the great respect in which Jamaica Negroes hold the rights of the established church. Compare Cronus and Ward, 133-145, Fortier, 24-27. As a device for getting victims cooked and eaten, the story is related to numbers 16 and 38 in this collection. Contents 38. Curing the sick. Story in Parks's version, the substitution of the human for the fish victim not only spoils the wit of the story but obscures its relation to the story of Anansi's visit to fish country as it appears in number 39. The identity of the two is proved by the structure of the 256 story, which falls into two parts. 1. Anansi, pretending to cure a sick relative, eats her instead. 2. The mule offers to avenge her and plays dead outside Anansi's door. When he attempts to make use of her for food, she drags him into the water and drowns him, as in number 6. 4. 1. Compare Cronus and Ward, 226-230, where Rabbit pretends to cure leopards' children and eats them up, Nassau, 125-126, where Tortoise pretends to bring children out of crocodiles' 100 eggs, and eats them all. 2. In Parsons's Portuguese Negro Story, JAFL 30, 231-235, Lob escapes from the island where the indignant birds have abandoned him, by bribing Horsefish to carry him across. He promises to pay her well, but abandons the Horsefish as soon as he touches shore. She remains weeping on the shore. Lob thinks her dead and starts to cut her up. She drags him into the sea and drowns him. There are small touches in the story which prove its identity with the Jamaica version. When Lob's wife weeps, Lob says, "She is just playing with me, she is not going to do anything." In Parks's story, Anansi says to the mule who is dragging him into the sea, "A little fun me mak wid you, no mean I dot." In both Jamaica versions, Mule turns Anansi over to the vengeance of the fishes. In the Portuguese, he is drowned. In Jekyll, 135-137, an old lady meddles with a jar she has been told not to touch and which, as soon as she gets her hand in, drags her to the sea and drowns her. In Jekyll, 125, cousin Simami makes his son Tarpon carry Anansi to shore, and Anansi gets him into the pot by the trick of taking turns weighing each other, as in number 16. In Pamela Smith, 44-46, Anansi eats the sick mother under pretense of cure, and bribes Dog to carry him across the river, but there is no vengeance, Dog himself is swallowed by crocodile. Contents 39. Anansi, White Belly, and Fish. Story Jekyll, 129-131, and Milne Home, 35-39, have excellent versions of this very popular Jamaica story, which, in its full form, is made up of 4 episodes. 1. The birds take Anansi across the water to their feeding place where, because of his bad behavior, they abandon him. 2. Anansi visits Fish and claims relationship. Fish tests him with a cup of hot pop, which he cools in the sun under pretense of heating it hotter. 3. He is lodged for the night with a box of eggs, all of which he eats but one, and when called upon to count the eggs, brings Fish the same one every time, 257 after wiping off the mark. 4. Fish sends her children to row him home. He fools them out of heeding her call when she discovers the loss of the eggs. Once on shore, he fries and eats the children. Compare Tremarn, 265 to 266, Headhunters, 324 to 326, Rattray, 2, 88 to 104, Parsons, Portuguese Negroes, JAFL 30, 231 to 235, Andros Island, 2 to 3. 1. The episode of the bird's feeding place is to be compared with that of Firefly and the Egg Hunt, number 7, and with the visit inside the cow, number 22. In the Portuguese version, the birds take Lob to a dance and he sings insulting songs because there is no feast. 2. The test of relationship occurs in Jekyll and in Tremarn, Headhunters. It belongs to the same class of boasts as those of the clever tailor in Grimm 20 and 183. 3. In Milnholm, the scorpion trick is employed to guard the eggs, as in number 7, and Anansi complains of fleas biting him. The episode is lacking in Jekyll. In Tremarn, Headhunters, when Spider breaks the egg shells, the children cry out to know what is the matter and Spider says he is hiccuping. The egg counting trick generally occurs in a different connection. The trickster visits Tiger's house, eats all the cubs but one, and counts that one many times. Compare Callaway, 24 to 27, MacDonald 1, 55 to 56, Thiel 111, Jacatet, 40 to 45, Rattray, Chinyanye, 137 to 138, Harris, Knights, 346 to 348. 4. In Jekyll, Anansi visits Simami, who is a mermaid, and her son, Trapang or Tarpan, takes him home. In Milnholm, Alligator is host, a boatman the ferryman. Lob gets Anansi horse to carry him to shore. In my Jamaica versions, the sons are the ferrymen and are generally cooked and eaten at the other end. The misinterpreted call occurs in all Jamaica versions and in Tremarn, Headhunters. In the Lob story, Lob mutters an insult. When asked to repeat his words, he declares that he has merely praised the seahorse swimming. Compare Parsons, Sea Islands, 54 to 56. For the fate of the ferryman, see also note to number 38 and compare Anansi's treatment of Rat in the note to number 7. Contents 40. Goat's Escape. Story. The story of Goat's Escape is a favorite in Jamaica. See Milnholm, 58 to 60, 65 to 66. It falls into two parts. 1. Goat and dog are pursued and dog escapes over a river which goat cannot 258 cross. 2. Goat transforms himself into a stone, which the pursuer himself throws across the river. The introduction to the flight varies but, 2, remains constant. Compare, Jacatet, note page 262, Parsons, Andros Island, 103 and note, Jones, 121 to 123, 133 to 136. Version, A. Compare Jones, and Milnholm, 58 to 60. Version, B. In Jekyll, 46 to 47, Puss gives the rats a ball and only those members of the family escape who attend to Little Rat's warning, for he has heard the cat's song. Compare Chatelaine, 189 to 191, and see note to number 86, where the little brother or sister discovers by the words of a song a treacherous intention. Contents 41. Turtle's Escape. Story. See number 58, Part 3. Contents 42. Fire and Anansi. Story. A less witty version of this popular Jamaica story occurs in Jekyll, 129 to 131. In Daryl, 64 to 65, Sun and water are great friends. Sun visits water, but water never visits sun. At length, Sun invites water and builds a great compound to receive him and his friends. All come, take possession, and crowd Sun and his wife, Moon, out into the sky. Contents 43. Beckwith and Anansi. Story. A story which turns upon teaching the wrong song to a dull-wit rival, never fails to raise a laugh in Jamaica. See numbers 4, 106 in this collection. Contents 44. Spider marries monkey's daughter. Story. Compare Tremarn FL 21, 353 to 354 and number 92 of this collection. Contents 45. The chain of victims story. Common as is the story of the chain of victims in Africa, Falconer gave me the only version I heard in Jamaica. Compare Coel, 158 to 161, Daryl, 6 to 10, Nassau, 245 to 247, Tremarn, 373 to 374, FL 21, 211 to 212, Lens, 39 to 40, Boas, JAFL 25, 207 to 209, Rattray, 2, 58 to 72. Contents 46. Why Tumblebug rolls in the dung. Story. Compare Tremarn, 261, FL 21, 498 to 499, Christensen, 96 to 98, and note to number 35 in this collection. Point 1 259. Contents 47. Why John Crow has a bald head. Story. The explanatory story of John Crow Peel Head is very popular in Jamaica. See Pamela Smith, 25 to 26, and number 17d. Contents 48. Why Dog is always looking. Story. In Milne Home, 121, Jack Spaniard, a wasp-like fly, laughs at mosquitoes' boast till he broke his waist in two. In Jones, 22, Sparrow makes the boast about his father's crop of potatoes. Point 2. Contents 49. Why rocks at the river are covered with moss. Story. See Milne Home, 94 to 95, Jekyll, 52. Compare Parsons, Andros Island, 119 to 121 and note for references, Bundy, JAFL 32, 412 to 413, and see note to number 138. For a discussion of Grimm 110, The Jew Among Thorns, see Bold Upolivka 2, 490 to 503. Contents 50. Why Ground Dove complains. Story. See number 21. Contents 51. Why Hog is always grunting. Story. See number 10. In Pamela Smith's Dry Head story, Anansi's nose turns long, and he goes about persuading other people to screw on snouts. Contents 52. Why Toad croaks. Story. See note to number 29. Contents 53. Why Woodpecker bores wood. Story. In Barker, 123, three sons wish to do honor to their mother, and the first declares that he will make her a sepulchre of stone. Contents 54. Why Crab is afraid after dark. Story. The story represents a very widespread folk motive, that of a weak being who appeals to some deity for more power, but whose request is proved to be either needless or disastrous. In Tremarn, FL 21, 360, an old woman is to teach Spider cunning. She sends him for a bottle of lion's tears, an elephant's tusk, a dog's skin. Spider secures them all, and escapes her when she tries to kill him. She says, "If I taught you more cunning, you would destroy everybody." This story is popular in Sea Islands, according to Dr. Parsons, JAFL 32, 404, and Sea Islands, 14 to 19. Compare Bundy, JAFL 32, 416 to 417, and note, page 416. 260 in Tremarn, 270 to 271, Snake promises Scorpion a poison that will kill a man at once. Scorpion accidentally bites Snake, and she refuses the poison lest he kill everybody. In Fortier, 13 to 19, the devil gives the little earthworm his wish, I want to become big and beat everybody who will come to trouble and bother me. Give me only that and I shall be satisfied. The consequences are disastrous for the earthworm. In Folk Tales of the Malagasy, FLJ 1, 238 to 239, the little round boy smokes out God's children and so wins his desire. In Ralston, 1 to 20, Sakra grants all an ambitious king's wishes until he finally wishes to push Sakra himself off his seat. See Grimm, 19, The Fisherman's Wife, Bold Upolivka 1, 138 to 148. Compare the Panchatantra story quoted by Ralston, Introduction to Tibetan Tales, Lyin, of the weaver who asks for 2 pairs of arms and 2 heads in order to work faster, but is pelted by his terrified neighbors for his pains. Contents 55. Why Mice Are No Bigger. Story Compare Parsons, Sea Islands, 19 to 22. Contents 56. Rat's Wedding. Story This story is told in Milnholm, 63 to 64.3. Contents 57. Cockroach Stories. Story 4 version, A, compare number 6. 4 version, B, compare Tremarn, 314, Parsons, Andros Island, 90 to 91 and note. Contents 58. Hunter, Guinea Hen, and Fish. Story The story as Williams tells it is made up of 3 parts. 1. Bird and hunter set up the same home without either knowing of the other. 2. Bird supplies fish with wings and brings him to the feeding patch, then takes the wings and flies away when hunter comes in pursuit. 3. Fish is captured as the thief, but escapes by song and dance into the sea. 1. See Grimm 27, Bremen Town Musicians, Bold Upolivka, 1, 237 to 239. Compare Barker, 141 to 143, Tremarn, FL 21, 495, Rennell 2, 12 to 13, Parsons, Andros Island, 135, Rattray, 2, 34. 2. The episode is identical with Anansi and the birds in number 39, but motivated differently. See numbers 2b, 5b, 21b. In Bates's Jamaica version, JAFL 9, 122 to 124, Mudfish is left in 261 the watchman's hands without the preliminary episode of the common dwelling, and the escape is effected in the same manner. 3. See number 41 and compare Rennell 2, 165, Parsons, Andros Island, 135 to 137 and references note 2, page 137. Contents 59. Rabbit Stories. Story These 3 and number 17b are the only rabbit stories I heard in Jamaica. A woman named Ellen told the stories to the lads from whom I heard them, but she refused to be interviewed. See numbers 21a, 12, 23. Contents 60. The Animal Race. Story The wit of the animal race turns upon the fact that a slow animal, contrary to all expectation, wins over a swift. The story takes three forms. 1. The swift animal is so sure of winning that it delays and slow but sure wins the race. 2. The little animal wins by hanging on behind while the other runs, and thus slipping in ahead at the end. 3. The slow animal arranges a relay by placing one of its kind along the road and taking its own position in hiding near the goal. See Dan Hard 4, 46-96. 1. The classic Aesopic moral appears in Parsons, Andros Island, 102-103, and in JAFL 30, 214. 2. Compare Barker, 155-157, Madagascar, FLJ 2, 166-168, Natchez Indians, Swanton, JAFL 26, 203, Surrey Air, 104, Lentz, Estudios, 185, 187. In Grimm 20, Bold Upolivka 1, 148-165, while the giant bears the trunk of the tree on his shoulders, the valiant tailor rides home from the forest in the branches and pretends that he has been carrying the heavier load of the two. 3. The Jamaica stories always follow the form of the relay race, as in Jekyll, 39-43. Compare Bassett 1, 15, Bleak, 32, Frobenius 3, 15, Rattray, Chinyanye 131, Rennell 2, 150-152, Schwab, JAFL 27, 277, Hart, 7-15, Smith, 543, Christensen, 5-9, Jones, 5-6, Edwards, 69, Harris, Uncle Remus, 87-91, Boas, JAFL 25, 214-215, Parsons, Sea Islands, 79, JAFL 30, 174, 32, 394, and references to American Indian stories in Boas, JAFL 25, 249, Ponape, Hamruch, Sudsea Marchin, p. 196, note, p. 347. The story is told in Grimm 187, discussed by Bold Upolivka 3, 339-355. For the flying trial for a bride, compare Parsons, Andros Island, 101. Contents 61. The fasting trial. Story C number 149, where the bird in the tree starves and hopping 262 dick on the ground picks up worms and wins the match. In this story, though incomplete, it is intimated that the bird in the tree wins. Compare Daryl, 153-155, Harris, Knights, 370-373, Fortier, 34-37, Parsons, Andros Island, 97-99. In Daryl, the birds propose to starve 7 days to see which will be king. One leaves a hole out of which he creeps unobserved to feed. In Harris, as in this Jamaica version, the winning bird takes up his station in the tree, the fool bud stays down by the creek. In Parsons, one bird chooses a fruit tree, the other a dry tree. The song sung by the winning bird runs this day Monday mornin' tama tama tam, and so on for the remaining days of the week. In Fortier, the lady love brings food to her favorite bird. The cooing song in the Jamaica version suggests this connection. Contents 62. Man is stronger. Story compare Coel 177-179, Harris, Knights, 33-38, 330-333, Radin, JAFL 28, 397 to 398, and C. Grimm 72, discussed by Bolt Upolivka 2, 96 to 100, and Sabilot, Le Folklore de France, 3, 63. Contents 63. The Pea That Made a Fortune. Story Compare, Bleak, 90 to 94, Callaway, 37 to 40, Thiel, 102 to 105, Rennell 2, 60 to 63, Riviere, 95 to 97, Tremarn, 237 to 242, FL 21, 213 to 214, Barker, 177 to 180, Cronus and Ward, 313, Torrent, 169 to 172, Elmsley, FL 3, 92 to 95, Krug, JAFL 25, 113 to 114, Harris, Friends, 182 to 186, and C. Grimm 83, Hans in Luck, Bolt Upolivka 2, 201 to 203. Contents 64. Settling the Father's Debt. Story for similar enigmatic phrase stories compare Bassett 2, 147 to 148, Riviere, 160 to 162, Rennell 2, 82 to 84, 89 to 90, 164 to 165. The version, however, resembles the drolls from the Y Valley recorded in FL 16:178, 352. Contents 65. Mr. Lenneman's Cornfield. Story Parks gave me the only version I got of this good story in Jamaica. He heard it in the parish of St. Ann Barker, 181 to 184, tells the same for Farmer Mibrow, but only to the harvesting. In Cronus and Ward, 152 to 159, a man tries to harvest rice in Devil's Town. The devil does all the work, but eventually the pot of rice runs back to the devil. 263. Contents 66. Simon Tutu's .4 story. I heard this story more than once in Jamaica. Compare Rennell 2, 167 to 168, 283 to 286, Bundy, JAFL 32, 420, Parsons, Andros Island, 62 to 65 and 62, Note 1, for references. In a manuscript story shown me by Mrs. W. E. Wilson, Wanna, which she took down from her old nurse, the same song is adapted to another story of a disobedient boy. In this tale, the boy insists upon going out late at night. He is at last captured by an ogre named Timon Tutus who carries him off to devour. Father, mother, and sister refuse his cry for help, but the brother finally hears him and comes just in time to his rescue. The song runs, Me Muma, oh, Me Muma, oh, Timon Tutu, oh, Lennon boy. Me Muma, oh, Me Muma, oh, Timon Tutu, oh, Lennon boy. Carry him go long, hard ears baby, oh, Lennon boy. For the story, compare Parsons' Andros Island, Disobedient Boy, 155 to 156, and C. Jacobs's Tale of Mr. Mayaka, English Fairy Tales, 3rd edition, revised, 171, Grimm, 42, The Godfather, Bolt Upolivka 1, 375 to 377. This is the only case in which I found the same song adapted to the dialogue of two different stories. Contents 67. The Tree Wife. Story compare Torrent, 40 to 44. For the answering spittle, compare Tremarn, 210, answering tufts of hair, Thiel, 131, see note to number 15 and bold Upolivka 1, 499, 2, 526 to 527. For beliefs about tracing something lost by means of spittle, see JAFL 2, 51, 52. Contents 68. Sammy the Comforee. Story. This curious story seems to be a cross between the Potiphar's wife episode with which the Ballad of Young Seidel opens, and the African tale of the lard girl who melts if exposed to the sun. Compare Daryl, 1-2, Tremarn, 192, Parsons, Andros Island, 125 and Note 2 for references. Contents 69. Grandy Doandoo. Story in a Jamaica version by P. Smith. The story takes the form of the transformed mistress, numbers 84, 87. Toad betrays the witch to her suitor and teaches him the name by pronouncing which he discovers her true nature. In another Jamaica story, P. Smith, 38-40, the monster does not harm the woman who knows his name. 264. The story belongs to the group of fatal name stories so popular in Jamaica. See numbers 14, 17, 23, 31, 44, 75, 87, 88, 89, 92, 93. All turn upon name customs and superstitions such as are touched upon in Tremarn, 178-182, Rennell, 2, 39-40, Thiel 2, 214, and discussed in Claude's Magic in Names, New York, 1921, Fraser's Golden Bough, 1911, 3, 318-418. See also Bold Upolivka 1, 490-498, on Grimm 55. Compare Junid, 309-313, Tremarn, 274-278, 349-350, Daryl, 79-80, Parsons, Andros Island, 114-115, Sea Islands, 22-23. In this story, 1. A servant, refused food unless she tells the name of her mistress, learns the secret from a friendly animal. 2. The mistress discovers the traitor and avenges herself upon him or is herself vanquished. 1. In some African versions, girls come to wed a desirable suitor, who kills them if they cannot tell his name. One girl is polite to an old woman, who tells her the secret. 2. In some African versions, as in number 93, the name is fatal. In Jamaica, its possession wins a reward, and the interest is likely to turn upon an explanatory ending. For the incident of singing the name, see Musgrave, FLR 3, 1, 53-54. For the bullfight, see number 88, and compare Cronus and Ward, 55-65. Contents 70. Jack and Harry. Story. This fragmentary story belongs, with the Man-Crow story of number 90, to a much longer African story which relates the adventures of a child hero whose father, dying, leaves instructions that the child's will shall never be crossed. Incidents succeed one another of inhuman ingratitude and of intrepid heroism, based on the possession of magical powers, until the boy finally kills a bird monster and performs other remarkable exploits. Compare Tremarn, How Otta Killed Dodo, 408-412, Zeltner, Histoire de Kama, 47-62. Harry in this story is the counterpart of the older sister who acts as Kama's mentor in Zeltner's version, and of Bera in Tremarn. The 4 episodes are common to this and the Kama story: the stolen breakfast, the insult to the sheltering old woman, and the 2 episodes of the breaking of the rescuing eagle's wing, followed immediately by the abuse of the friendly tortoise. In Zeltner, the tortoise has restored the children to life. The commonplace incidents of the Jamaica version are in curious contrast with the rich and varied phantasmagoria of the Senegambian tale. 265 The flight which brings disaster to the kindly shelterers occurs in the story of tigers pursued by the Niams, told by Pamela Smith, 59-65. Compare Tremarn, 344-346. In Europe, the story of the bear's son in folktale and of Robert the Devil in romance have points in common with this story. See Grimm 90, Bolt Upolivka 2, 285-297, as also Grimm's Thumbling Stories, numbers 37 and 45, and note, 3, to number 30. Contents 71. Peafowl as Messenger. Story Jekyll, 84-85, connects the animal competitors with the story of making the dumb girl speak, as in numbers 95, 96. In Milne Home, 73-77, the animals compete to sing at the king's dance. In African Parallels, some peril is involved of which a bird is to bear warning. But in all my versions and in those given by Mrs. Parsons from Andros Island, 112-113, the birds summon the father of a newborn child. The song of one of my versions from Maroontown runs, Mr. Canoe Low, I want the key of the hall door, Mistress Canoe hard labor. Mrs. Parsons says that the Negroes of Andros Island agreed that this was the most popular story on the island. Compare Torrent, 87-88, Junod, 140-141, Dennett, 103-104, Jacatet, 108, Thiel, 63-66, Rennell 1, 32-34, 279-281, 282-287, Parsons, Andros Island, 112-113, Sea Islands, 106. Peafowl's reward gives an explanatory turn to the end of the story. In Hendrick's version from Mandeville, Peafowl sings, Mr. Conalevrin, when she's going to die, ah. The husband reaches home in haste. The lady gives Peafowl the promised reward, and he took the bag of gold and the silver, and in his joy he threw it right over his head, over his entire body, never remembered his 2 feet. That's the reason why Peafowl's so handsome all over has such beautiful feathers and such ugly feet. Contents 72. The Barking Puppy. Story on the whole, the bird is a friendly spirit, the dog an unfriendly in African story. Here, as in number 28, the dog takes the place of the warning bird. The idea seems to be here that the dog, by calling his master's name, invokes his spirit. 266 Compare Junod, 93, Parsons, Andros Island, 165, and the Hobie Ass in Jacob's, More English Fairy Tales, 127. In Junod, dove warns hippopotamus against rabbit, rabbit kills dove. The feathers give warning, rabbit burns all the feathers but one and mixes them with dirt, then the one feather gives warning. In Chatelaine, 129, a dog warns of a murder. See note to number 73. In Callaway, 52, a witch's flesh is ground to powder and thrown into the water in order that it may not come back to life. Contents 73. The Singing Bird. Story in Jekyll, 14-16, the incident of the warning bird is employed in the story of the 2 sisters, number 74. Version B is a poor rendering of Jekyll, 96 to 97. In Thiel, 217 to 220, the younger of two brothers secures a magic gift of cattle. The elder lets him down into a water hole to drink and, leaving him there, goes home with the cattle. A warning bird leads rescuers to the place. See, for the same story, Jacatet, 60 to 62 and note, Folklore jour of. So. AF. 1, 139 to 147. For the incident of the warning bird compare Torrent, 17, no 24 to 26, 166 to 167, Thiel, 219, Rennell 1, 30 to 31, Daryl, 110 to 114, FLJ, SA, 1, 75 to 79. The motive is common in ballads, e.g. JAFL 20, 253. In the Cinderella story, it is a bird who gives warning of the false bride, e.g. Callaway, 130 to 135. Not all birds, only certain species, are looked upon as prophet birds. See Cronus and Ward, 175, Dennett, 8. That these birds may be regarded in some cases as the actual soul of the murdered person is evident from Rennell's story. In Parsons, Andros Island, 129 to 132, a tree sings of a murder. See Grimm 47, The Juniper Tree, and Bolt Upolivka 1, 412 to 423 on Grimm 28, The Singing Bones. Contents 74. Two Sisters. Story Jamaica versions of this popular story appear in Milnholm, 70 to 72, Jekyll, 14 to 16, Trowbridge, JAFL 9, 283 to 284. Parsons Andros Island, 150 to 152, has equivalent versions. The false bride motive is very common in African story. Compare Callaway, 105 to 130, 303 to 316, Thiel, 56 to 66, 144 to 147, 151 to 154, Jacatet, 90 to 99, Torrent, 66 to 68, Daryl, 126. In number 101, the true bride comes at night and sings and is detected through the words of her song. In this story, she comes at night to suckle her child. See the child ballad version noted 267 by Parsons, and Bolt Upolivka 1, 76 to 96, on Grimm 11, Brother and Sister. In Thiel, 55 to 66, the drowned woman comes at night to suckle her child, is watched, and a net set to catch her. In Thiel, 144 to 147, the snare and the milk are set for the false instead of for the true bride as a test of her witch nature, because no witch's tail can escape the attraction of milk. This is like the old fable of the cat who became a lady, but betrayed her origin when a mouse ran across the floor. Contents 75. Asana. Story. This story has some elements in common with number 90. It falls into two parts. 1. A huge beast comes daily to the house and is finally shot. 2. A boy who must discover the name of the beast learns it by chance from an old woman and wins the reward. 1. Compare Bacchus, JAFL 13, 27, where the animal is a bear. 2. The connection between the first and the last part of this story, which seems to belong to the Fatal Name series, is lost. For the old woman as informant, compare references to number 69. For the audience, The point of the story evidently lay in the comic way in which Brown held up the imaginary monster's skin between thumb and forefinger and said, "No, is it not? Asanak in." Asana is generally supposed to be an elephant. Contents 76. The Greedy Child. Story. The idea of a water spirit who allows no one to cross a river without an offering of food, seems to be common in West Africa, e.g. Daryl, 107-114. Jekyll, 100-101, Dry River, has a Jamaica version of this story. Compare also Tremarn, 209-210, 307-314. Contents 77. Alamoti and Alimenti. Story. For the exchange of colors see Bold Upolivka 1, 124-126. For place changing and killing of the wrong victim see the same, 499-501. Compare Parsons, Sea Islands, 128. The incident is common in African story, e.g. Tremarn, 430, Dennett, 47, Torrent, 33, Junod, 163. The setting of the story is often similar to number 23, where a parent calls upon outside aid to get rid of a troublesome child. Contents 78. The Fish Lover. Story. This story is very common in Jamaica. See Milnholm, 91-93, and compare Rennell 1, 203-204, 206-208, Origin of Water Beings, Rennell 2, 268-269, Parsons, Andros Island, 61, and note for references, Sea Islands, 137. 268 in Smith, 573-584, a young man changes into a fish in order to escape the attentions of the ladies. He comes out when his mother calls him. He is finally lured out and caught in the meshes of his lover's hair. In Grimm 8, Bold Upolivka 1, 69-70, a little girl is forced by her brothers to go out and cut peat with a dull knife. Her elf lover stretches out a sharp knife to her from the hill where he lives and tells her to call him by striking on the stone. The brothers wonder how she can cut the peat, and spy upon her. They strike the stone, take the knife and cut off the elf's hand, who thereafter disappears. Contents 79. Juggin Straw Blue. Story. The story is confused in the telling. It has three parts. 1. A water being helps a girl who is abused by her aunt and sent to fetch water with too heavy a jug. 2. The water being pursues and carries off the girl, though she is locked in an iron chest. 3. The girl's lover comes to her rescue and defeats the monster. See the next number and perhaps 99. Contents 80. The Witch and the Grain of Peas. Story. There are two parts to this story. 1. The witch stepmother discovers that the girl has eaten food in her house and threatens to drown her. 2. The lover comes to rescue her and fights the stepmother. 1. Compare Jacatet, 166-175, and Lewis, 253-255. 2. For the fight, compare numbers 69, 79, 88, 89, 90. For the fight with eggs see number 79 and compare Fortier, 11-13. Eggs are used as propitiatory offerings to a water monster, as in Daryl 130, and are among the most useful objects employed for conjuring. In Zeltner, 1-6, eggs are used for magical purposes in the fight with a witch, but arrows serve as the actual weapons. Contents 81. The Witch at Bosun Corner. Story. This nursery tale was commonly recited to me by women, and a great many versions differed only in trifling respects from the pattern employed in the oldest Jamaica version on record, Lewis, 255 to 259. Here the girl breaks a jug and is sent to get a new one. 3 old women appear to her one after another, the last of them headless, to test her courtesy. The cat appears, the rice is cooking. The eggs to be selected are the silent ones out of a number of fine large ones that cry take me. Out of the first egg comes the jug after which she has been sent, the other 2 make her fortune. 269 P. Smith's version, 31 to 34, has more direct Frau Holly incidents. The good girl fulfills as she advances the requests of the grass, pingwing, and bramble, the fruit tree and the cow. When the old woman sends her to draw water with a basket, Turtle tells her to put a plantain leaf inside. She selects a little ugly calabash. When she is pursued by axemen, as in number 82, the things she has been kind to befriend her, as in One's version of Brother Dead. In a manuscript version in the collection of Mrs. W. E. Wilson, Wanna, Yucky, and Jubba are the 2 daughters. Yucky has a present of a string of amber beads. She puts them about her neck and says, "Bad day behind you, good day before you, but this only in dream." She loses the beads in the river and is turned out of the house. On her way, she sees and greets kindly a foot and a hand, and scratches the back of an ugly old woman, without complaining of the insects which sting her. The pot of rice, the cat, and the eggs are as above. The fine eggs say "Tek me no," the dirty ones, "No tek me." Compare FLJ, SA, 1, 111 to 116, where the girls pretend to throw their beads into the water and thus deceive one girl into doing so, who has then to go down to the home of the water monster to get them back. The variants from Andros Island, Parsons, 17 to 26, show no such uniformity. They are sometimes confused with the pumpkin story of Parsons, 26 to 27, and Milnholm, 84 to 88, in which the choice of pumpkins is like that of the eggs in this story. The theme is very common in African collections. Compare MacDonald 1:298, 301, Junod, 191 to 192, 237 to 242, Torrand, 75 to 80, Tremarn, 307 to 314, 401 to 407, Barker, 89 to 94, Nassau, 213, Rennell 1:50, 64, Bundy, JAFL 32:406, and Parsons, Andros Island, Note 1, page 17 for further references. See Grimm 24, Frau Holly, Bold Upolivka 2:207, 227. Contents 82. The Witch and the 3 Dogs. Story. This is one of the longest stories I heard in Jamaica. The leading Maroon storyteller recited it to me in full audience, and I heard it repeated by another Maroon in much less detail. Numbers 83, 84, and 89 have points of likeness to it. It has 5 parts. 1. 2 brothers are out penning cattle and one, going for fire, surprises a witch in the act of feeding her family, which she carries about in her own body. 2. The witch, bent on revenge, follows them home and proposes, as a test for a husband, knocking a calabash from her head with a missile. The boy throws a frail missile and succeeds. 3. At night, the witch 270 sharpens her razor to kill him, but each time she approaches, one of his dogs warns him. 4. The boy departs with his bride, leaving his dogs chained, but he places a pot in the middle of the floor and warns his mother when the liquid in the pot begins to boil to loosen the dogs to his rescue. 5. he climbs a tree to escape the witch. She produces axes and axemen by tapping her body and proceeds to chop the tree, which he restores magically until his dogs rush in and tear up the witch. Compare Barker, 123 to 128, Callaway, 51 to 54, Chatelain, 103 to 110, Jacatet, 58, Rennell 1:86, 93, Thiel, 46, Tremarn, 432 to 441, Zeltner, 61, FLJ, SA, 1:13, 17, 21 to 25, Lentz, 15 to 17, Edwards, 72, Harris, Friends, 91 to 100, Parsons, Andros Island, 66 to 70, Sea Islands, 80 to 88, JAFL 30:189, 190, JAFL 25:259, 32:399, 400. 1. Possessing the fire is a sign of magic power, according to Junod, 157, note. In Edwards, the big worm has fire. A father sends two sons in turn to fetch it, but as they reach after the fire the worm swallows them. The father goes with a lance that glistens, is swallowed, cuts open the worm and rescues all the people the worm has swallowed. In Rennell, 88, the pursuing monster swallows people alive. Compare Tremarn, and Parsons, Andros Island, 67, 68. In Tremarn, a hunter sees a witch knocking herself and feeding monsters all over her body. In Jacatet, an axe chops out of the body of the witch the cows which are the cause of the two brothers' quarrel. 2. In Barker, the episode of the calabash is attached to the story of the hunter, told in number 84. The elephant whose tail he has cut off turns into a lady and goes to find her mutilator. She proposes a test similar to the test in this story. In Tremarn, the witch proposes the test, as in this story, because the hunter has seen more than he should. 3. For this episode see note to number 83 and references. In Tremarn, the boy's father insists upon the son's taking a horse, a sword, and gourds. When the witch sharpens her teeth to eat the boy, the horse wakens him. In Parsons, Andros Island, 68, the boy escapes the witch's razor by turning into a bucket of water. 4. It is not clear how this episode of the life token got attached to the story. I do not find it in African versions. That it is fairly constant is shown in Parsons, 66, 67, 69. In the more common form of the story of the two brothers, with which this story has some elements in common, the life token often takes the form of 271, a knife stuck in a tree, see number 104. In Tremarn, 298, the treed husband has carried his flute, with which he warns his wife to loosen his dogs, very much in the manner of Roland at Roncevally. In Jekyll, 35, the water in a white saucer set in the sun turns to blood, but this is a Bluebeard story. 5. Climbing a tree to escape an enemy is one of the commonest episodes in African flight stories. See number 89. Here it occurs combined with the axe chopping contest and the rescue by dogs, who rush in at the end and tear the pursuer to pieces. In Tremarn, the woman transforms herself in various ways before the dogs succeed in killing her. They then devour every drop of her blood. In number 104, the dogs are restrained from taking part in the fight with the witch by being chained by the witch's hair. This episode is also of frequent occurrence in American Indian lore. See Parsons, Zeitschrift für Ethnologie 54:1, 29, 1922. In some cases, e.g. in Thiel, Zeltner, Harris, 85 to 90, and in FLJ, SA, the tree-cutting episode occurs independently of the rescuing dogs. Contents 83. Andrew and his sisters. Story. The story appears in Milne Home, 114 to 120. Compare Chatelaine, 145 to 151, 103 to 111, Rennell 1:77, 81, 2:261, 265, 265 to 267, Farrand, 119 to 122, Torrand, 159 to 163, Tremarn, 432 to 441, Callaway, 53, Thiel, 124 to 126, Cronis and Ward, 178 to 186, Dennett, 52, Barker, 97 to 101, Junaid, 144 to 148, Edwards, 92 to 93, Parsons, Andros Island, 44. See numbers 82 and 86. It is the imitative Sharpen Me Razor song which makes the story successful with an audience. Contents 84. The Hunter. Story. The story is popular in Jamaica and is told interchangeably of man or woman wooer. Compare Barker, 123 to 128, Cronis and Ward, 261 to 262, Tremarn, 292 to 293, FL 22:457, 458, Harris, Friends, 91 to 100, Parsons, Andros Island, 65 and reference note 3. The point of the story is voiced in Nassau, 15, if you find a friend, it is not well to tell him all the thoughts of your heart. If you tell him 2 or 3, leave the rest. In Cronis and Ward, the man reveals all his resources for transformation but the last, which is dat ting way turn fos pon top de wada. In Tremarn, FL 22, he starts to say the word for ring, zaba, gets as far as zap and is interrupted. In Barker there is a further turn to the story.